It's been a while. Welcome back for us too. I don't have a good reasoning, or I have a really ADHD'd out, complex, long, drawn out tangent story of why we haven't been consistent with our YouTube. I promise you it's not the intention to do that. And I see whenever we go out places or to events or something where I'd see other people, you know, in the community or something, it's always about YouTube episodes. It's not really about Instagram platform. It's always YouTube. So this is my icebreaker back into this stuff, because it literally feels like I've been paralyzed and just been, see, I'm doing the ADHD. I'm going to jump into it. I don't need to explain all this. We're here now. I'm going to press on Fab Diaries. So right now I'm telling you, Fab Diaries, carry the Bronco, the green Bronco, 3D door panels. I'm going to rip a new format with Fab Diaries. Joey and I are working on a different kind of point of view that should be really awesome. So we're going to craft 3D door panels on carry, probably get through some upper trim work in that thing too. But right now we are closing out Amir's T100. If you don't remember Amir's T100, it was gray before. We did a lot of talking and work on the steel dash on the inside. Did a lot of stuff. So let's look at it right now. It's gorgeous. It's a different car, and that was the whole entire intent with Amir's truck, is to give it this update to where it looks like a modern badass T100. Good. So like I said, the original, I'm going to just kind of circle back from everything we've done. I don't need to go and like check back on the updates from previous with this, but now we're just going to close out the final, and especially we want to go over the upholstery, because the upholstery is insane. It all panned out like we planned on when I was talking about all the steel dash and seams going places and it coming apart, and it, you know, all being serviceable and all being able to be wrapped and upholstered. Upholstery nailed all that stuff. So color choice, it was a really cool graphite, like a number 7 gray. Looked fine, but we needed a color swap, and this made sense. This is like a desert tan. It's a very light tan. When I say like a number 7 gray, that would mean the lightest of that would be like a white, which would be a 0, and then a 10 would be a black. So you'd think in the scale of grayscale, that'd be a number 7. This tan is probably just a warm number 2. Who cares? I know, but it's stunning now, and the contrast of the black with the tan, and then a little hit of the military olive green on the beadlock rings, and then on the stitching on the inside of the car, it ties it together in a really awesome way. All the noise you hear is Pete. He's helping me out with some metal shaping, and we're just gonna live with that because he's on a mission today and he needs to be on his mission more than we need to be doing this, and that's that. So I hope we can tune it out and the mic picks up. Original intention, Amir contacted me and he's kind of watched and seen what we do, and we're no stranger to rehabbing vehicles, and I don't mind doing that as long as they have a good foundation and good bones. It's not a huge deal. I don't like, it's a beautiful truck. Chris Allen built it originally. I used to like look up to Chris Allen's work when I was younger, before I was even doing this stuff. So he's been around for a long time, and it's been a pleasure to be able to take this and transform it into something newer. And that's what Amir wanted. He's been watching stuff. He's watched us transform other things, and he said, hey man, I have this truck. I want to put some resources into it. I want to get it to a point where it looks like a new truck. It doesn't look dated. And there was enough of it. It just looked not run down, but it just looked like it was just dated. And, you know, fiberglass dash with some kind of sketchy upholstery on it, old suspension seats, 37-inch red label general grabbers, which are maybe the worst tire ever. Big crazy bumper, you know, like just minimal tin work. It had some goofy bedsides on it. So I kind of laid it out. He had some some priority things, and the dash, like originally we were just gonna modify the dash that was in there and the instrument panel and build like a pod on it. And it just didn't make sense, and I proposed just building a complete kind of a interior in this thing, and you'll see with the door panels and the pods and the center console and the upper console, it's a really insane interior, and it's definitely my favorite interior of any truck we've done. It's tough for me to cover the things when they're fully complete because I feel like I always go back and I feel like I miss stuff. So it is what it is. One of the most important things was the functional aesthetic of this thing. Like we took what we had to work with and then played off of all that design-wise. So like this front clip was something already there. Obviously the cabin and the shapes the cabin have are already there. So tying in the roof scoop and tying in the profile of the tin work, the mirrors, the light bar, the glare guard, everything has a full hit of tension and design into it. One of the prominent things that I think from when I was younger is a lot of old like tube chassis pre-runners had chopped windows in the back because the shock location wanted to be right in a sweet spot of where a window sill is. I keep trying to talk over the noise, but I don't think I have to because I'm mic'd up, but I'm thinking about like talking to a phone. Man, I think I should wear earmuffs and then I'd be like super solid talking right now. Yeah. One of the things I used to see was like a crop back window, shocks up in the back, and gave this kind of hunched, like this haunch on the back here. And so like there was an opportunity here where the roof scoop itself, the shapes of it pulls off of the windscreen line, and the same shape is presented on the opening of the scoop. And then it has this kind of pull where it peaks, like the actual contour. I think I've been saying like a lot. The actual contour is here, maybe a third or a quarter of the way. And then it starts to draw back. And I didn't want to just end it at the cab. I wanted to present like a spatial change where we could run it off the back of the cab. And then that can be functional where it can divert the air and it can pop down into the cooling. And the cooling, the whole system here, the coolers actually don't go above the bed or the belt line of the car. So this is all just elevated as an aesthetic, and obviously it's functional because it frees up more space and circulation. But really, it just has it as like to give this essence of this kind of hunched over look. And it's a great thing for profile. Like if you wanted to stack that with more coolers, totally could. But it's got 3 back there already, and it's a great design aspect. When you start to look back here too, the RTL bar is incorporated back here. It's part of the roof scoop, but it's not like the guts of it are not inside of the roof scoop. So there's another piece of tin work that actually diverts the air and kicks it down into the cooling where it wants it. And then the coolers themselves are all on a pull system. So they're gonna exhaust all that stuff down into the exhaust. The X pipe that's under there that we might have gone over before, it's all wrapped. I just wanted to seal the deal and have it wrapped right where all the air is coming out of the coolers. And then it'll exit, and it has a clean hit back here out of the skid plate where it's like flush, and it's very reminiscent of like a boat exhaust. I think the last episode, we had it outside and it was covering everything. It was just about to go to upholstery. So with that being said, let's look at the upholstery. This was all constructed first, and what I like to do is oh man, I ruined myself. I like to build the 3D door panels where they merge with all the shapes of the instrument panel and the dash. So Joey's gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna close this door a couple times for you. What I want you to really look at is I want you to look at this contour line and how it goes into here. And then I also want you to look at the, I'll do it like 2 or 3 times, and then look at the door bars and how this profiles into the door bars. And you could, I mean, you could kind of do it here. Just stay here and I'll open that. Obviously, driver's side is a little higher to favor all the telemetry. So the pod, and just for design, it makes more sense to not make them equal and have the driver's side be the dominant pod for instrumentation. So the door panel is not going to be as high. So they're symmetrical from the trim plate to the opening for the pull to the door bar and down, but this rise here is contoured specifically for the passenger side. And you'll see the same thing I'm talking about. So detail 1 right here, and then detail 2. Feel me? Cool. I still look in here and it's just about exactly how I would have pictured it. Now, there are some cues, if I was really critiquing, I'd say there could be extra stitching in some areas. You know, like maybe this would have extra stitching, or like the bevel here maybe would have more prominent stitching. But our upholstery guy is a monster, and talking with him, we discussed the plan here. We wanted to use Alcantara. I said we want a rich, soft to the touch, supercar, high-end performance car feel. When I mean soft to the touch, I want foam on everything. I don't want to, like, even though it's wrapped, I don't want to, you know, go in there and feel a steel or a hard piece. Like, that's sometimes when I get in a nicer car, I do that. Even if it looks like different texture or material, I kind of push on it and I'm like, how soft is it? Does it have some kind of spring back? The headliner is also something, and I don't have any better term to call it, but I call it like a starving dog headliner. And what I mean by that is there's different ways to do this stuff. My preference is what you see. This could be a little more sunk in between the chassis tubes, but that's because we already mounted the map lights, all the Baja Designs map lights. They're not sunk in enough to where we can get more tube to be showing. But the analogy with the starving dog thing is, you know, when you see them, you see their ribs, right? Their ribs are, or any malnourished animal, you usually see their ribs showing through, and that's what I like the cage to be doing. It's, you know, the other kinds I was mentioning is you have like pizza slices or inserted pieces, like trim pieces that go into the voids where the tube isn't, like we did on Dan's truck. And then there's people that just do a headliner that covers the entire thing. And it takes away from the essence of like your motorsports car, because not only did you paid for this thing where you have this badass roll cage in it, but also like you want to show the presence of safety and you want to show the presence of like chassis in here. So this is the happy medium to me, where it's the cleanest. Is there's foam like that's in between each tube, and then there's a small, like a 1/8 inch thinner layer of foam that goes over the tube and then goes over the middle pieces and wraps the whole thing, and then there's Alcantara. The upper console is also upholstered and stitched, you know, window controls. You have your switch pro, and then you just have your poles for your suppression. I've made a pact with our cars, and Vivian's the only one. Bums me out, but it's been, you know, like it's a non-negotiable suppression. The cars get suppression. Selfish me goes, it saves the car from burning down to the ground. Proper me should say it saves occupants, and they have a better chance of not getting as hurt, you know, if the car gets on fire, and they can get out in time and save themselves. So it doesn't make sense to put so much money into these things and not literally spend a tiny fraction of that to put fire suppression in. It just, I can't get around that. So back to this, everything with our upholstery guy, the talk was, he's like, I'm going to cover every single tube in Alcantara. And I'm like, that's a lot. And there was a lot of exposed back wall. And he's, you know, when you see some of this, every tube is covered. The only ones that aren't is some of the substructure for the seats that are in like a bed liner. But it's incredible. And it's when you sit in this thing and the doors are closed, it just has this encapsulating feeling of just like a supercar or some kind of hypercar, where it is plush and sealed, and you know, the cabin is also very sealed. It doesn't have, like, you know, you see those dust flaps on the back wall of a lot of truck cabs. That's to help the doors close. So this like actually involves a pretty solid throw of the door to actually close them, because there's an air pocket in here now. So these are all reupholstered too. These are Sparkos. These are just your Evos, but you know, everything is proper in here. These are just on mechanical sliders. The Resto mod is obviously in here. You'd call these ball coolers, I guess, but I'd just call them a crotch cooler pertaining to the individual in the seat. And then we're just running a tablet. We're not running a traditional old Lawrence GPS or something. This is just it's a play truck to go have fun. I was a little up in the air about the machine portions for the gauge plates, but it made sense with the vents, the AC controls, and then like our trim pieces. So unless we were going to do an executive hit of like a different color on all this stuff that you would call silver, it's a good little accent, and it ties into some of the stainless on the outside, and it keeps it grounded as like a machine. I think you can get away from that is if everything has a coating on it. So having some raw stuff in here gives it a good presence like that. All right. So most of this stuff in here is all Chris Allen stuff. We revised pretty much from where the chassis dives down. We revised all the forward facing stuff, added a condenser, added the PSS trophy truck pump. And then obviously Keith has had his way with the shocks. We added the 4-inch shock in the rear, and then this is on a full KDM package. So did his spec sheet, 5,900 pounds wet for this thing, all in. That's not with an occupant, but it's with all fluids and a full tank of gas. The next bit of this, just a little bit of road testing. I'll put 100 miles or maybe 130 miles on it today. And then we will go out towards the end of the month and we'll get a hit in Barstow with Keith, and we'll really tune this, do the same kind of deal, run Barstow, Maine, all that. But this thing's, it's been a great project. And like I said, I don't mind taking on these things as like, I don't know if rehab's the right word, but that's the easiest one right now. Rehabbing these things into like a new life. And they're great projects as long as the bones are good. I would never take one on if we had to cut everything out of it, or it would be a different conversation. It would be building a new truck out of an old truck. So hope you guys enjoy this one. Really excited to see how it does, and see it in the future. I know Amir's going to take it to Cars and Coffee and do all that, and then it'll be in Glamis. We built the bedsides to run with paddles too, so he should be able to leave this thing completely alone, not remove body panels, and be able to rip anywhere. Completely sealed cab, air conditioner, heater, so it shouldn't need to have the windows down. You will not get dusty. Just a super clean car in general. So pleasure to be back. I want to say we're going to be able to be consistent here. So we'll see after this drop, but thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting.